in the program. Let's talk first about the diplomatic summons. Siddharth is a member of the Aam Aadmi Party. I remember Arvind Kejriwal, once I asked him, sir, आज आपको बाकी पार्टी से क्या डिस्टिंग्विश करता है? He said, मैं कट्टर ईमानदार और कट्टर देशभक्त हूँ. The देशभक्त camp might argue कि other countries should not get involved in our internal affairs. What do you say, Siddharth?
Yeah, Barkha, let me at the very outset categorically say that every sovereign country, be it India or United States, every sovereign country would not want any other country to come and give its make sermonizations on its internal matters. That said, what has happened essentially is that in Hindi, जो हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना कि उड़ता तीर ले लिया है. If that was true, the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, invited this statement from United States when he said that he is so pally with Mr. The President Barack Obama कि मेरा उनके साथ तू तड़ाक की बातचीत होती है. When he went to the US and said that Abki Baar Trump Sarkaar. So if you become too pally with that somebody, obviously that other entity will also get too pally with you. So basically, United States, what it has done today, although it is uncalled for, still I think that the BJP and Mr. Modi, in its delusion of becoming a Vishwa Guru and trying to project its image, it also did the same thing with Abki Baar Trump Sarkar, or by saying that Barack Obama ke saath mera tu tadak ki baat hai. So basically what has happened is that you can mount a tiger, but the moment you try to dismount a tiger, it devours you. So there is a saying that Pandora's box, if you open a Pandora's box, even gods cannot control that. So essentially what has happened is that Mr. Kejriwal, unlike other chief ministers, is a chief minister of Delhi. Let us understand the politics or the reality, practical aspects behind it. Every country in the world, nearly 200 countries, have their embassies in Delhi. Everyone keeps on reporting those things to their respective capitals. Now, what has happened is that whenever the President of the United States has visited Delhi, the First Lady has invariably visited the Mohalla clinics and the schools of Delhi government. So Arvind Kejriwal being seen by many countries, especially the democratic liberal countries, as someone who is delivering on promises. He is democratic, he is participatory in nature, and he delivers service to the electorate, the people who have voted for him. He serves them. So the issue here is not about the US meddling or interfering in our affairs. The issue is that this has been invited by the BJP itself, by Mr. Modi itself. Tell me one thing, Barkha, how come it is good when Mr. Modi is Abki Baar, when Mr. Modi is eulogized in the West, we also beat our chest कि भारत का नाम बहुत ऊंचा हो गया दुनिया में, विश्व में हम लोगों का डंका बज गया. आपका डंका जब बजेगा तो it is a double-edged sword, right? If you do things good. Yeah.
Can I ask you something? It's very interesting to me that as an AAP spokesperson whose leader is in custody, you on principle don't want the Americans to be issuing statements for your leader. On principle.
It's not about my leader. The statement is about the state of affairs of another foreign country. The point I'm trying to make is that Mr. Modi meddled in the affairs of the United States. The day you do that, you are inviting the United States to meddle in your affairs. Now, if you keep on complaining, because I think, Barkha, you also follow the State Department very closely. Every day they come out with at least a dozen handouts. They do press conferences every day. This statement doesn't end here. Once the State Department has made a statement, today you have called the ambassador and reprimanded or whatever you asked him. Obviously, in the next 24 to 48 hours, the State Department will again come back with something. I don't know what it will be. But the point here is that that's what I'm trying to make. That Mr. Modi had to understand before opening a Pandora's box and saying that Barack Obama ke saath mera tu tadak ke sambandh hai, trying to go to the US and participating in a political rally and saying Abki Baar Trump Sarkaar. Basically, if you get too pally with a snake. I think most of us we also have pets in our house. We have dogs in our house. It is a carnivorous animal. If you want to have a carnivorous animal in your house, then you need to understand how to treat it.
Okay.
You treat it
You,
it will treat you
you,
the same way you
so
treat it.
your basic. Okay, I've got your point. In principle, you don't agree with another country meddling, but you blame the prime minister for having got too embedded in US politics. And now this is what we're seeing. Let's open this up for conversation. First, Sanjay Hegde, then Group Captain, and then I'll come to Madhavan and Sandeep. Sanjay Hegde, does this amount to interference? The Germans have done it. The Americans have done it. Siddharth says, on principle, he doesn't agree with it, but Modi government has brought it upon itself.
Well, he may say whatever, but it is not unknown for Western democracies to speak to a fellow democracy. Long ago, when George Fernandez was on the run during the emergency, there were fears that when he was captured, he would not be captured alive. It was somebody very high up in the Prime Minister's office who, when he heard that he had been captured, made sure that it was uttered in the presence of the ambassadors that if Mr. Fernandez was captured, he would no doubt receive the full treatment under the rule of law. So the Germans then understood that Mr. Fernandez had been captured and made demands, and that is what saved Mr. Fernandez's life. These are documented things, and it's not that every little thing that happens inside a country is commented on. If somebody comments on your internal affairs, you decide whether you want to hear that person or you don't want to hear the person.
But we don't comment. We don't comment on the trial against Trump. India doesn't comment on the trial in America against Trump, right?
We don't comment. But supposing we were to have certain other foreign policy adventures, supposing the Chinese got very angry with us, where would we go? We would have to go. We would have to go to the Americans, right? So these are things which, in diplomacy, are best avoided. But when they come, you have to learn to ignore them, or you have to learn to tell them yes. We
so
take
you don't
concerns,
agree,
but please mind your own business.
Do you agree with the summons? Do you agree with the summons to the US diplomat?
That is a matter which the Foreign Office determines, and I don't think we are. At least I am not well versed in diplomacy, and I've been sitting around too many ambassadors to go through this language of démarche and this and that. So yes, if they think that it is worth their time to call somebody over and give them some tea and say that this is our official position, so be it.
Okay.
Everybody in the diplomat world knows what is sought to be conveyed and when photo ops are required.
I'll just briefly get Sandeep before coming to Group Captain, because Sanjay Hegde is saying leave it to the diplomats, but you've got to ignore something. Sandeep, going by your comments on social media, at least, you felt this was going too far. It could have been left to a statement. Sandeep, can you unmute yourself, please? You muted at your end, Sandeep.
Yeah. No, the question is, there is a matter of optics. There, as Sanjay used the term, photo op bit is there. So that was very much, I think, the intention, and especially in the election season. But I would make a distinction between what Sanjay was talking, the kind of incidents which Sanjay was talking about, like George Fernandez, etc., which are human rights issues, which are freedom issues, to something which is judicial. I know for a fact, firsthand, I know of an incident. Sometimes there are these presumptions in the Western democracy, perhaps, that India is just another of these developing countries where the government calls the shots. A particular big, very large multinational was having a major lawsuit in India and on a certain matter with the state. And there, that particular government tried to intervene and go to the PMO's office those days, not the BJP PMO. I'm talking about the previous regime, and asking them to intervene. And they were told in no uncertain terms, we have an independent judiciary. Don't think that we can. We can or try. You go and hire the best of lawyers, and which they did, and they finally got the reprieve. But the fact was made clear that we don't interfere in what's going to happen in court. So in this particular case, the distinction is between that. If, let's say, somebody was in prison for political reasons, if it was done, some political protests, etc. In that situation, for any other country to comment would have, I think this was inappropriate. And I think there was also an element on the other side. If the America is also going through its own set of compulsions.
So you're saying both America and India responses were inappropriate?
No, India's approach, I'm not saying inappropriate, it was perhaps exaggerated, but they had no option but if they ignored it, I think that would have been wrong. But whether to call him and use the photo op, etc., whether you needed to do that, that's a diplomatic call. I would agree. That's a diplomatic call. But India certainly had to make it clear that this is a legal process which is happening. It's got nothing to do with a political, irrespective of what people may assume here. So that distinction needs to be made. But if there was somebody who was imprisoned for some political thing, making some protest, taken in, by that situation, any country can comment, and we do. And if you recall, Sheikh Hasina, as recently something was said, not talking to the opposition, he said, "I will talk after Biden calls Trump for a chat. I will also do the similar conversations here." I think that's par for the course.
Group Captain, you agreed with the summons. Sandeep says, maybe a statement would have done, did you really need the photo op of this diplomat getting out of a car? The AAP leader says he doesn't agree with the American interference, but Modi government had called it upon themselves, right? Sanjay Ingve says, I'm a lawyer, I leave it to the diplomats. What do you say? Why do you agree with the summons? Because some might say India's being prickly, India's being oversensitive, issue a statement, be done with it, move on. Why give them so much importance?
Very true. So let's break it down, Barka. Someone comments the way I look. I have two options. A, ignore. B, politely give it back to him. C, probably give him one thappad. So the first action is politely give it back to him. How do you politely, in the diplomatic parlance, give it back to him? By calling him and, like Sanjay said, give him a cup of tea, make him or her sit for 30-40 minutes, and tell them go away. 7th of March, Russia called the US diplomat and said, I'll throw you out. 15th of March, this March, US called the Russian diplomat and said, your drone was shot on over Black Sea and blah, blah. Pakistanis called a diplomat and said, your Biden statement, I don't agree, and I'll probably take action against you. So if you do a little Google, you'll see this, people coming and going for a cup of tea is something that happens very regularly. That is point number one. But I have some diplomat friends and in the family as well. I must tell you what happens in this institute. They play out this scenario during the foreign officers training, where how to give cold shoulder, how not to laugh, give a stern face, switch off the AC, maybe make the temperature a little warm, little cold, call them all over, have 3, have 4, have 5. And when you go get called, how should you behave? So all this is some kind of a small little drama they put up. But the point is home. It is the first step from ignoring something that has been said against you. But there is a serious issue, Barka. That is, how will US react? That is what Sanjay alluded to. How will US react remains to be seen. And I have seen the wide spectrum of US's reaction. It could be from sanctions to nothing. So tomorrow, day after, how is it going to react is something that we need to see. And US, especially if they view you as a pushover, then they will push you over very hard. I mean, the entire West, not only US.
Okay.
They have that kind of an attitude.